It's 6 o'clock, and I'm really excited about our upcoming session today. So, today we're going to talk about meditation, mindfulness, and no shortcuts. And we've got with us Swami Purnachaitanya, who's an author, he's a speaker, he's a spiritual guide. And honestly, I'm going to give you my own story because one day I was reflecting and I was thinking, we see this word mindfulness everywhere, and it's really become the buzzword. And I wanted to really do a session on this. And this is a true story. And as the universe would have it, the next day in my mailbox was an email from Penguin about a new book, Looking Inward, Meditating to Survive in a Changing World. And as I scrolled down, it said, okay, we will talk about mindfulness and how mindfulness and meditation are different. And they asked me whether I would like to host a session with Swami Purnachaitanya. And I was like floored, of course. I said, yes, yes, yes. And I jumped as the opportunity. Because as you all will know, that 2020, even 2021 has been a test for all of us. So today we're going to talk to Swamiji and our need for inner peace and how we can only achieve it by looking inwards. He will also share how making way for mindfulness brought him inner peace and how we can all achieve it too. The best part, as I would say, is especially about this book, and even when I've been briefly talking to Swamiji, it's not preachy at any scale. And he talks a lot about his personal experience. And he also warns us against a lot of these DIY mindfulness apps and all these shortcuts that we want to take in our life today. A bit about Swamiji: he's an author, he's a speaker, he's a spiritual guide to many around the world. He completed his university studies in Indology with a specialization in Sanskrit. He left the Netherlands and moved to the Art of Living International Center in Bangalore. He received his title Swami, or monk, as an acknowledgement of his high state of consciousness and commitment to dedicating his life to serving others. Purna Chaitanya is the name given to him by his master, meaning he whose consciousness, which is Chaitanya, has fully blossomed, Purna. He is also the director of programs for the Art of Living. So first of all, Swamiji, a very warm welcome to Sipping Thoughts. I'm so excited to have you here, as I'm sure everybody is.
Thank you so much, Sukirti. And I'm really looking forward to our interaction today.
Perfect. So I'm going to start off with a couple of questions, and I'm going to hand over the session to you. So the pandemic, as you say in your book, it's not just a health crisis, it's a human crisis. That the pandemic is the most challenging crisis the world has ever faced since the Second World War. And nothing will ever be the same again. Many of us are stressed, worried, and anxious, and how to manage. And I know I will leave this question to you because this is a perplexing question.
Yeah. So the thing is, if you look at our life, we have mostly been taught how to function within the system. No, like even if we look at leaders, if we have any leadership programs, whether it is MBAs or governance courses, the whole idea is that, okay, you learn how the system works, how things work, and then everything goes smoothly. And the same is with our life. We've been taught certain things that, okay, you have your job, you have your social life, you have this, you have that, and then you're set. And that is what we rely on for our sense of security, our sense of peace of mind, how we feel comfortable. But we see now, and this has always been the case, but more than ever, that all these things can change at any point. And then when things change, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to respond. We don't know how to, it's like, whatever you're holding on to for support starts shaking. So then where do you go? And at the same time, of course, I'm sure all of us have grown up with some stories, me included, of masters, or whether it's a kung fu or a tai chi master, or like I used to watch movies like the Karate Kid, Star Wars, but there are these masters who know or can teach you how to be comfortable in almost any situation. When everything goes down the drain or falls apart, okay, how can you still remain standing? How can you still be successful or move ahead? And this is what inspired me also to explore more, that I realized that, yes, if you learn how to master your mind, that can take care of a lot of these challenges. Of course, it doesn't fix everything. It's not that to go directly to the point, if you know how to meditate, that everything is okay, or all your problems are solved. But it will definitely equip you to deal with it better, and like you said, to manage.
But one of the things I'll say, you're also a big fan of Kung Fu Panda, because I've read
Totally.
him quite a bit in your book. So he's one of your favorite characters and he keeps coming up again and again. But as you say in your book, there are many misconceptions and wrong notions when it comes to meditation. We would like to understand that further, because that is also why you say that you wrote this book.
Yeah. So the thing is that, and of course in the book also I've touched upon that just like yoga, meditation has evolved a lot. Especially if we look at the last 10, 20 years, we see that the awareness that is there globally when it comes to these practices, earlier, even yoga people used to think in the West and many other places that still, it's something different. And of course, last 10, 20 years, that has changed a lot. But earlier, if you say 30, 40, 50 years ago, I know even in India, it was not that common. And people had so many concepts, they imagine, someone sitting on a bed of nails, or it's at least someone who is not mainstream society. While now we see the total opposite. You see the most successful people, whether they are lifestyle coaches or models or even executives, who are boasting about their yoga practice or their meditation practice. They go for retreats. The fancier, the better. So in meditation, also we've seen that it's become so much more popular. There is so much more of awareness, much more demand and interest. But with that, of course, you also see there is a lot of business opportunity. And there will be people, and there are people who will say, okay, how can we package it in such a way that we can reach maximum people? How can we sell it? And in that process, sometimes and many times you see that some of the important aspects are lost in the process, and you end up with something that may be just a shadow of the practice, or maybe even less. Like now we have goat yoga, bear yoga, God knows what, which has actually nothing to do with yoga. In the same way with meditation, we see there are many apps and mindfulness practices which may have their benefits, but it's not meditation, or it's definitely doesn't come close to what real meditation can offer you. And so far, whatever I have been able to come across when it comes to research that has been done on many of these apps, it's not proven also that they really give you what they tell you they do. So meditation as a practice has many proven benefits, but a 2-minute meditation app may not give you that. And in the same way, because of this, sometimes they say, oh, you can do it on the go, just while you're in the car, when you're doing your work. I had a question today from a newspaper interview where the person also asked me that, no, is meditation something you can do when you're walking, eating, talking? And I said, no. But you can be mindful. So again, that's that confusion where people have adopted this word mindfulness and they say, oh, it's more secular, so it's easier to market, to promote. But then if you look at the real tradition and the practices, it's a different thing. So that doesn't mean they're not compatible or they're not beneficial. But we have this concept that, okay, either that you can do it anytime, anywhere, and you don't need much, or this other side where you have to go far away into the mountains, or you're supposed to be able to sit in a very difficult posture, and even just keeping your back straight for many may be a difficult posture. But for a longer period of time, you cannot have any thoughts. So then when you sit and already your back is not supporting you, and then you think, oh God, how am I going to manage? And after 5 minutes, you get so fed up with all the thoughts that are bombarding your head, and your nose starts itching and your phone is buzzing. And then you say, oh, forget about it. No, I can watch a movie. That also relaxes me. So there are many notions, misconceptions about meditation that I was very keen to clear, because it will allow people to approach the practice with a more open mind, but also feeling much more comfortable about themselves. And that way they can benefit from it, because otherwise, it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You say, okay, then this is not for me, but then you also miss out on the benefits it has to offer. And I think we are all in need of a little bit more peace of mind.
Now, Swamiji, coming back to that, it is not for me, because a lot of us feel that we have tried it, we've tried to do it, but couldn't do it. So is this session going to be relevant for us? Because a lot of people question that I tried it, but there was too much going on in my mind. And that's the same question I asked you, because I've tried and I've always failed.
So I think it will definitely be interesting, because just like in the book, we're not going to talk only about meditation. We're going to also learn a little bit more about how the mind works, how to manage the mind. And then, of course, I introduce meditation as one of the main tools that we can use for this. But just getting that insight itself can save you so much of trouble. Because otherwise what happens, we may be looking for something, but if you're looking in the wrong place, you can spend your whole life looking and you will never find it. So I hope through this session to give people maybe some more ideas that, oh, I can look here also, there also. And hopefully people get inspired to really find what they were looking for.
Well, with that, Swamiji, I'm going to hand it over to you because you love the story of the lost keys also. So I hope you're going to tell everybody about that.
Okay, well, I guess I can start with that. It's one of the stories I have also put in the book, so you'll get a preview, a glimpse. This is actually a story that that my teacher, my master, Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji, shared once about Mula Nasruddin. In the 16th century, there was this very interesting persona, and there are many funny stories about him, which are in one way, if you look at it, it's very ridiculous, but it has a lot of profound insights and wisdom mixed up in it. So there is a story that goes that a gentleman was in the evening going home, and he saw that under the street light, Mullah is there on his knees in front of his house, and he's looking for something. And he thought, poor gentleman. So he went up and he asked Mullah, "What are you doing? It's dark already. You're looking for something. How can I help you? What are you looking for?" He said, "No, I've lost my keys." And he thought, the poor fellow. So he said, "Okay, let me help you." So the gentleman also got onto his hands and knees, and he's walking around there, and they're looking everywhere, but he doesn't find anything. And he himself covered that whole place maybe 2-3 times. And then he looks around, and 10, 15, 20 minutes passed, and then suddenly he got up. He said, "Mullah, you're not finding anything. I'm not finding it. This area is not so big. Do you remember, where did you lose it? Where did you lose the key?" And suddenly Mullah gets up and he says, "Yeah, of course, I remember." He said, "Okay, where did you lose it?" He said, "Inside in the house." And the gentleman was, of course, slightly annoyed because he's also going on his legs, hands and knees. And he asked him, "But then, Mullah, for God's sake, what are we doing here?" He said, "No, but inside it is dark. Here there is more light. So that is why I'm searching here." Now, in one way, you could say it makes total sense, because you need more light. Otherwise, you cannot see. But then if you leave the house looking for the keys that you left inside, you're not going to find them, And this is one of the things that in my book I have touched upon, that there are so many clues that nature gives us, that our mind gives us. And if we catch those clues, if you're able to see that, realize that, oh yes, then you start understanding where we have taken a wrong turn. Because if you look at life, if you look at your childhood, if we go back, for those of us who remember, or maybe if you have children or grandchildren or some small human beings nearby, your neighbors or somewhere else, you will notice that small children still have all these qualities that we're looking for. They are perfect yogis. Even if you forget about the asanas, because that also they do. You see small children, they're upside down, they're very flexible. They put their leg here, there, their hand there. But if you just look at their state of mind also, you will see that they are so fully in the present moment that they don't really worry, they don't really get upset. They may get angry sometimes. They may get annoyed, that's a different thing. But if you remember, as a small child, you would wake up in the morning and it's a new day. Yes or no? And you thought, okay, let's play. You go and do your things. And even sometimes in between, if you fall down, you hurt yourself, maybe a few minutes you cry your eyes out, but then it's finished. And even then, actually, if you observe, small children are very sneaky. Because what happens if you see a small child, if it runs and it falls down, the first thing it does is it will look around if anybody saw. Have you noticed that? It's super sneaky. I mean, they do it naturally. It's not that they think I want to be sneaky, but they do it. And if there is nobody there, like for example, as a parent, you're there, but you're hiding behind a tree or something, then they will get up and they'll continue. They don't even cry. But if they see someone saw it, they will start crying like anything. And then, of course, you will comfort them, maybe even give them a sweet or do something. It's like They have some leverage on you. So small children are naturally so happy. They can be sitting and playing in the mud with a pebble, with a twig, and they're so joyful, you know. And even if something, say some other kid takes their toy, or they have some argument, half an hour later they're happily playing together again. And definitely the next day they will not think, oh, why yesterday that kid took my toy, okay, now today I'm going to get even, or why that happened to me. No. You take a small child to any place, they may not speak the language, they may not know that person, but you will find within half a minute, 1 minute, 2 minutes, they may be looking around a little bit here and there, and then they're so comfortable. They feel at home. They will open some cupboard, they'll start playing with something. So as an adult, as a big human being, we still have this potential where you can wake up in the morning and you can really be free from the past. That doesn't mean that you don't remember anything, but it's not the memory that bothers us, it's the emotion behind it. Someone did something bad to you, okay, you can learn from it. But when every time that comes to your mind and it irritates you or it makes you uncomfortable, whenever you meet that person or hear about that person, then it becomes stressful, becomes a burden. The same way we worry so much about the future. What if this happened? What if that will not happen? Now with the pandemic, even more, because we have realized how uncertain the future is. And this is something that, as I mentioned briefly earlier, from quite a young age, it really fascinated me that I would like to learn how to manage this mind or master this mind. Because think about it, so many years we have spent in school, and these were thoughts that were coming to me while I was studying, because as any student, at some point you get fed up, oh God, another exam, so many books to read, and you have many more interesting things to do. You want to go out, spend time with your friends, watch a movie, do anything but study. So we spend so many years studying, you spend so much of your time, your energy, your money, and yet we have never learned how to manage our mind. And suddenly this struck me. I said, this is such a silly thing. Because even when you were young, teachers used to sometimes, occasionally at least, maybe tell you that pay attention, focus, concentrate. Yes or no? You're sitting in a classroom doing something else. If you have a very enthusiastic teacher, they may even throw the chalk or something if you're really not paying attention and you're sitting all the way behind, hoping that they won't see you. And it's like, come on, pay attention. But it's not that you don't want to pay attention. Any child would love to concentrate, study well, remember whatever is being said in the classroom. But if the weather outside is really nice, or there's a beautiful, good-looking boy or girl sitting 2 rows ahead, how are you going to focus on the blackboard? So telling someone or saying, okay, pay attention, concentrate, very nice, but that doesn't do it. Yes or no? Just like you yourself telling yourself that, okay, concentrate now, focus, or just relax, doesn't work. You may have had so many times that maybe one of your near and dear ones was upset or got hurt, maybe a relationship that failed, or they had a bad experience at work, or whatever it may be. Now, especially if you see during the pandemic, so many people really suffered all kinds of losses, whether it was their job security, their own business, they may have lost some near and dear ones. And then you can tell someone all you want that, no, it's going to be okay, or, just drop it, or because going on and on about it also will not help you. Somewhere you have to look ahead. But how to do it? Nobody has really taught us how to do it, either at home or at school. And this is just one example that can really teach us, if it strikes a chord, when it clicks, when you realize, oh yes, this is really what is happening in my life, then you start seeing that it is the quality of your mind that ultimately determines the quality of your life. And we are spending most of our time, if not all, our time, our money, our energy on so many other things, thinking or hoping that that will give me that sense of peace or security or make me feel comfortable. No? I mean, that is why people, for example, want to have a lot of money. Not because money tastes so good or smells so nice, but because you think then, okay, whatever I need, I can buy it. And I have been conducting sessions also for some of the top CEOs, literally some of the richest people in India and actually in the world. If you look at the official newspaper articles, I will not name them because of their, out of respect for their privacy, but people who have come to me and they said, I would like to learn more about this. I would like to learn more about meditation, or because they realize that even for them, they may be sitting in the biggest house. They have everything we could possibly think of materially, and sometimes even in a way socially. But they were also disturbed. They're also having difficulty sleeping at night. They're having anxiety. So then you realize that the real security is only inside. All the other things can contribute, but unless we learn how to manage our mind, there is no guarantee that you will either be happy, you will be peaceful, you will be able to enjoy what life has put in front of you or what you have worked for to achieve. I mean, let's be honest. I'm sure all of us would have experienced that you may be in the most beautiful place. You've gone for a holiday or accidentally you landed up there. And then just one message or a phone call from a friend is enough to take all that away, where maybe you heard, oh, someone is unwell or someone has had an accident or something else. That very moment, it loses its beauty, or you lose your taste. You can have the most wonderful food in front of you. You're not going to be able to enjoy it. And this is something that really struck me, that this mind, to understand how it works, to manage it, is something that I want to figure out, because otherwise I can do everything else, but there's no guarantee I can really progress in life. And one of the first things that really struck me when I had a chance to learn more about these things, it happened. I mean, I used to read a little bit books, some books about Zen, about Buddhism, about different things, whatever I could find. But I thought, okay, I wasn't fully satisfied yet. And then I had a chance at the age of 16. I met Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. He'd come to the Netherlands. There was a big public talk in Amsterdam, one of the big venues there. And few of the things he said really struck a chord. And then I thought, okay, now I have found someone who can really teach me some of these things, who has that experience, who has that expertise, and who can do it in a way where it is not some very complicated discourse. So simple language, but very profound truth. So how to make something so subtle or so, you can say, it's something very, very abstract in a way, but make it very practical. And one of the first things I learned was that our body and mind work according to different laws. If we look at our body, the law that governs our body is law of effort. To achieve anything, you have to put effort. Yes or no? Like we want to lose some weight. You cannot escape doing some exercise. No? And exercise means effort. You have to do something. The same way you want to become more flexible, you have to practice. If you want to learn how to play an instrument, play the guitar, piano, anything, you have to practice. No? Anything you want to do, you have to learn a language, anything. So that is what we are used to. That is how we are conditioned. And this is how it works, is that to achieve anything, you have to put effort. And this is the first mistake we make when we try to meditate, because you think you have to do something. And the more you try to do something, it doesn't work, because our mind doesn't work through effort. What really works on the level of the mind is effortlessness. And this is why poor students, including you and me, in an exam have this terrible experience. I'm sure at least once you would have had the same experience. It happened to me multiple times, that you study really hard, you know at least most of the stuff decently, and then you sit for the exam, and maybe just before you still went through that little list, like a few of those points that you're not sure if you're going to remember or that are very important. And then once you put that down or in your pocket or whatever, and you enter that classroom, you don't even want to look or talk to anyone, because you're just mentally remembering, so at least that sticks. And you sit down and you get that paper and you start going through the questions, you start writing. And then suddenly it's like, oh God, they're asking you for something, and you know that you know it. You have studied. You may even remember it was on page 25 below that blue box, chapter 3, but it doesn't come. It's like tip of your tongue. It's there somewhere, but it doesn't come. And the harder you try, the more effort you put, it doesn't come. And then what happens is at some point time is up. You have to give that paper, submit it. And the moment you step out of that classroom, suddenly you remember. Yes or no? It's horrible. Or on the way home, suddenly everything starts coming back. So it's not that you don't know, there are so many students, and I feel for them, because if you see in India especially how hard people study, or how hard people make people study. I mean, for me, coming from Europe, it's terrible. I mean, that way I'm grateful I did my education there, because I wouldn't have had a life, honestly. But then the point is that there is so much of pressure for many people. And then poor kids, even though they know, or even if they're not so small anymore, adults also, but then it becomes such a challenge, And this is not just your college time. It may continue in your professional life or anywhere. And why does this happen? It's not because God is angry with you and is punishing you, that because that life you didn't offer one coconut, that is why. No. It is because we have not learned how the mind works. Because the moment you step out of that examination hall, whether you have done a great job or not, you may have failed miserably also, but at least for today I'm done. Aaj ke liye ho gaya. Yes or no? And what happens? You relax. Relief. Okay, at least for today, let me relax. And the moment you relax, suddenly you remember, because when you are relaxed, that is when your mind functions optimally. So it's not that you are not putting effort, but we have never learned how to be focused and relaxed at the same time. How to be aware and relaxed at the same time. And this is exactly what meditation is. And in the same way, you see, whether it's trying to remember something, whether it is trying to relax, whether it is, how many times has it not happened? Something bad has happened and you think, oh, I don't want to keep thinking about this incident, or I don't want to think about this person. The more you think, I don't want to think about this person, you think about them more. Yes or no? It's terrible. You may be dead tired and you're lying in your bed thinking, oh, for God's sake, let me sleep because I have to get up early again. But there are so many things going through your head. And even though you are so tired, you're not able to sleep. And even when you finally fall asleep, you see that the quality of your sleep is not great. You may be having so many dreams. You may be dreaming about that same issue, even worse. And then you wake up in the morning and you don't feel fresh. So for me, this was an eye-opener, because the same with meditation, the more you try to do something, it doesn't work. So this is a skill. Meditation is a skill that comes by practice, not by knowing something intellectually. Of course, few basic things, basic principles we need to know to move in the right direction. But I don't know how many of us here have learned how to ride a bicycle. Anyone? In Holland, everybody has a bicycle, so there it's very common. But for those of us who have tried, at least attempted, you would have noticed that even though intellectually you may know that how it works, but until you get on that cycle, and a few times, because the first few times you will definitely fall down at some point, slowly you start getting a hang how to do it, where that intellectually what you start learning how to do it practically. And then with practice, it becomes more and more easy. And at some point you will find that if you're very adventurous, then you can even cycle without holding the steering handles. Like in Holland, we used to do that, as kids. Hands up and then you cycle. And then you have to balance like that and you can manage. So meditation is something that comes by practice. But of course, we have to put effort in the right direction. And this is something that has also been my experience, and so many people, the thousands of people I have taught, that that is where that the right guidance can make all the difference. Because we have this tendency that, okay, for whatever reason, I prefer to just figure it out by myself, So you go onto YouTube or you Google, but then it's very difficult for you to be able to judge that, okay, is this authentic? Is this proper or not? Because how do you know? And nowadays with SEO, search engine optimization, all of these things, really, it's very difficult to find out. No, the best stuff may not be, probably won't be in the first 10 search results that Google will give you. Because anybody who has enough money will put his stuff there. The same if you look on Instagram, the most successful yoga teachers, yoga handles, are usually people who either have a six-pack or look very good in a bikini. So it doesn't even have that much to do with yoga. It's just that people like how they look, or once in a while you get someone who puts really good content. But then for someone who is just starting off, the moment you see that six-pack, you think, "Arey yaar, mera to kuch nahi hone wala hai," Like, I won't, and that's the thing, that you see people doing the most difficult yoga postures, and then you look at it and you look at yourself and you feel, oh, this is not for me. And the same I've seen with meditation, where people either think that it's out of my reach, or they try something and they think it doesn't work for me. So you putting some flute music and then you sit and you say, okay, then you're expecting to get enlightened, and all you see is that same to-do list that is pending keeps coming back, and you think, yeah, I'm wasting valuable time. I could have finished one or two more things. So here, that skill of relaxing, of letting go, is something that we need to make our own, but then there are ways to go about it. So first, understanding how the mind works. There's different laws of the mind, and then you start seeing that, oh yes, this is how it functions. It's like learning a language. And the interesting thing is that will not apply only to you, because everybody's mind functions based on the same laws. So the more you start understanding how your mind works, it will even give you a lot of understanding why other people behave the way they do. It's very interesting, actually. You'll get a very good idea that, oh, this is why that person is behaving like this, and you may have a better idea how to help them also. But understanding how the mind works, and then understanding where we have gone off track. Like I said, as small children, everybody has these qualities. You're a perfect yogi. But then somewhere, because of our upbringing, our conditioning, there's so many factors, we've moved away from that a little. Like I said, no, you had those keys in your hand, and then suddenly you find the keys are not there. But instead of looking there inside the house, you go out because there is more light there. No? There are so many people who will tell you, do this, get that, and you will be happy. If you see some of the advertisements, and if you didn't know better, you really would think that getting this deodorant or that watch or maybe this type of noodle will make your family life wonderful and bring back the charm and the romance or the joy in life. And some things, if you see how blissfully people are sitting there, it would even put the Buddha to shame, But then we have all experienced that it doesn't really work that way. But we forget, or we, like I said, these are clues, but we don't pay attention. Because, for example, one more thing I just want to touch upon, because it's very interesting. When you really enjoy something, say you're eating something very delicious, the taste is beautiful. What happens? You'll find that when you taste it, for a moment, you close your eyes. Yes or no? It's like, if you really want to taste it, it's like, oh, wow, kitna badhiya, so nice. The same if you listen to some music or something which is so beautiful, you cannot help but close your eyes for a moment to really take it in. Yes or no? Have you noticed this? It happens for everybody. The same, any of the senses, sense of touch. Someone touches you, you feel so nice, you close your eyes for a moment. You smell something really nice. There's a wild rose or something, or some perfume, and you cannot help but close your eyes for a moment. Why? Because that happiness, that joy, that peace that you're experiencing is happening inside. And to experience that, mind has to go inward for a moment. And that is why you will find that that same thing doesn't give you the exact same experience later on. This is the problem. We go shop, buy so many things because this looks nice, tastes good, smells wonderful. But then later, it's not the same. Doesn't mean it's not nice. But how many times has it not happened that you watch a movie again, or you listen to some music, or you go back to that same Italian restaurant that really, made your senses tingle, and then you go there and it's nice, but it doesn't give you that same feeling, because it was just something, it was an excuse, something that triggered this thing which is already there inside. And that is why when our mind is disturbed, you don't really enjoy anything. Can't go inward. And this is why anything that brings your mind to this present moment, that makes the mind stop for a moment, because that is what happens when you go in, have that experience for a moment, your mind stops. You're not thinking about the future or about the past. You're fully there. So anything that brings your mind fully to the present moment will give you at least some amount of joy or happiness, including bungee jumping, scary movies. Have you thought about it? What on earth makes people enjoy a horror movie or a thriller movie, or bungee jumping for that matter? this very thought that I may be crashing to my death, there is a rope and all of that, but still it's like you're giving yourself this illusion that really I'm going to fall down, and people enjoy it. It's not even good for your spine or anything, but millions of people do it. Why do people like roller coasters? As kids we had this house of horrors or the scary house, and you have these fairs. Why do we enjoy that? Your heart is going dig 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 dig, and then suddenly some skeleton will come and but then you come out and they're so excited. No, you see the kids also, even older people, but then it has to be a little more scary. But then they also get excited. Oh, did you see that movie? Oh my goodness, no, I thought I was. Because for a moment your mind stops. That suspense brings you fully to the present moment. And when your mind is in the present, that is when you experience joy. Why? Because that is our very nature. It's there, it's available. It's just that we've not learned how to experience that, how to tap into that. And the more stressed we are, the more anxious we become, you're not able to feel that. The more peaceful you become, it's naturally there. And that is why you would have noticed that whenever you feel really good, happy, if someone asks you, oh, why are you so happy? It's sometimes very difficult to really pinpoint what it is. Have you noticed that? There may not be so many things which are different from any other day, but just I feel very happy, I feel very nice. But if you're not good, if you feel bad or upset, or one of your friends or close ones, someone is very upset, God forbid, if you ask them, why are you miserable? You get the whole story. No, that person did this to me, they said that, it didn't happen. And so you need a reason to be unhappy. You don't need a reason to be happy. And this is opposite of what we keep getting told. Because we keep getting told and shown that, no, you need this to be happy, you need that to be happy. And that is like leaving the house looking for the keys that you left on the dining table. You're not going to find it. So I've touched upon some of these things, like, for example, job satisfaction. People say, oh, you want job satisfaction. Job will never give you satisfaction. But if you become satisfied, then you will be satisfied in your job also. That is the beauty. Once you learn some of these things, when you're able to tap into that, that means that you can be happy anywhere. You get so much of freedom because you don't need to do something to become happy. And this is where a beautiful shift happens in life, where you don't live life as a pursuit of happiness. You start living life as an expression of happiness, where you may be doing the exact same things, but not thinking, oh, it will make me happy. No, you can do those things happily. And meditation is that skill that allows us to unburden our mind, our nervous system from so much of these unnecessary impressions, stresses and strains. Because let's face it, life is not the same as it was 100 or 200 years ago, or even 50 years ago. The amount of impressions that we are exposed to, the amount of experiences you have to digest, information you have to digest, is so much more. And that is why you find even when you sleep 6, 7, 8 hours in a night, you wake up, you don't feel fresh. For your body, physically, it is more than enough. But mentally, it doesn't give us the rest we need. And meditation, 20 minutes of meditation, proper meditation, gives your mind the same amount of rest as 4 to 6 hours of sleep does. Many people are not aware of this. It's a fun fact. But that shows also why meditation is really a life hack, because it allows you to keep up with all these impressions and still remain peaceful, happy, and sane. And I can keep talking about these things, but I also would like to give some time, because I can see that there are questions coming in the chat. But
before we go to the questions in the chat, I think a lot of people now, of course, are intrigued, Swamiji, for, of course, the 20 minutes. But my favorite chapter also of your book was, how do you get to meditate, And I want you to give us some of those tips and give us some of those hacks. And then I will open it out to audience questions.
So, again, to do justice to this topic, I can only touch upon a few things. It's even though some people here I know are avid readers, and Sukirtaji happily what we can say, devoured the book in just 2 days. But then, as we have a limited time, I touch upon a few of the things. But one thing that that is like a few practical tips is, one, make sure that you are physically comfortable. Like if you want to meditate, because people, like you say, no, you have this concept, maybe I have to sit on the floor or cross-legged or very straight. Yes, your back should be erect. Lying down, you will not be able to really meditate. I mean, there are other exercises like what we call yoga nidra, or these body scan techniques, but that's a different thing. But you can take a back support, you can sit on a chair, you can sit on a sofa, because if physically you're not comfortable, it's very difficult to go beyond the body. So then the mind also will not settle down. And then you can spend half an hour thinking that, oh, it's paining here, it's itching there. But then meditation will be very difficult. Another thing that is good to know is that when your body is totally still, you will find that the mind also starts settling down. This is one of the techniques, one secret. So this is something that you will find that even though initially you may be quite restless, even the mind may be quite restless, but then if you keep your body totally still, like a statue, just for a few minutes, you will find that the mind also starts settling down. And then, of course, there are certain things you can do as a preparation. Like if you find that mind is very restless, or even the body is very restless, too much energy, or this restless kind of energy, then even just doing few minutes of some exercise before you sit down to meditate can make a huge difference. In yoga and Ayurveda, we talk about, some of you may be aware, there are the three dosha, three gunas, the different qualities in this creation, which are there in our body and mind as well. So the rajas or the rajoguna, the activity or restlessness, if that is too much, it will not allow you to really settle. So then you have to spend that energy, especially some of us who spend a lot of the time sitting at home or behind a desk or even in a car. So then even for me, if I have a day like that, first I'll do at least 5-10 minutes, anything. It can be you go for a jog, put some music and dance, jump up and down, anything, just to spend that energy. And then you will find it's much easier to sit. And then for those of us who have learned, for example, some breathing techniques, pranayama also is a wonderful preparation to settle the body and mind. And then when we sit for meditation, being able to, for a moment, really drop everything. In the book, I've gone much more into detail how to do this and the whole process, but what we call dispassion, where you say, okay, for the next 15 minutes or 20 minutes, it's like you have died. I'm nobody, I'm nothing. This again, it's a skill, but being really able to drop, to let go, you will find that that saves you already half the work. Because what happens if you are say you're a doctor, and if you're not dropping that label, that identity, then what happens when you sit still, these thoughts may come up. Oh, I have to see this patient, I have to prepare for this conference, I have to read up on this thing. But if for a moment you're really able to drop that, as if you have died, really. See, one day we are all going to die, whether you like it or not. And when you die, all of these things will go, yes or no. Your family responsibilities, your job, all of those things. Even if you think the world will not function without me, you're in for a surprise. Most of the time it functions more smoothly. So if you're able to really drop all of that, you will find that these thoughts will not even come up. This is, again, it's a secret. So the same way, if you say, okay, really, you can feel that for the next 15 minutes, I'm not interested in anything, in seeing anything, smelling, tasting, touching, nothing. Just be totally disinterested. And you don't have to do anything. Your whole to-do list, everything is postponed. Okay, that we'll see after 20 minutes. Then already your mind starts settling down a lot. And we all have this ability, at least to some extent, because that is what you do at night before you sleep. You cannot sleep unless you let go. So sooner or later you come to a point where you just drop everything, and that is when you fall asleep. But here we do it consciously. And when you do it consciously, it can give you a much deeper rest. And this, I tell you, it's such a Beautiful skill. No, it's like sometimes when your phone is overheating or it's getting stuck, or even your computer, and if nothing else seems to work or it's taking too much time, then what do? You switch it off, right? Either you just switch it on and off, or you keep it off for a few minutes and then you switch it on. And then it works very nicely again. That way we are not too different. And this is, I tell you, it's such a precious ability, a tool to have, because we cannot choose what experiences come our way. So sometimes you will have a day that really drains, tires you. And then you come home and you had so many plans, but all you have energy for is just sitting on the couch and watching TV. You may have wanted to do so many things, and nowadays this happens again and again. So you find people only having the time and the energy to do the things they have to do, and they're not finding the time or the energy to do those things they really want to do in life. And if you're not able to make that work, then what happens after 10, 20, 30 years? People start getting this sense of regret, because they feel, oh, I'm living a life, the life I have to live, not the life I wanted to live. And it doesn't have to be like that. Of course you have to do those things you need to do, you have your responsibilities, but at the same time we have our goals, our dreams, and you're not just here in this world to just eat, sleep, work, and then die and become happy and sad in between. So maybe what we can do, we don't have time for a full session, but if you would like, and with your permission, maybe just a 5-minute glimpse of something. Would that be okay, Sukirti?
Would love to hear from everybody. I would love it. So just would love to
What
hear
do you
from
think?
all of
Just
you.
short, because
Yes,
I know
yes,
also people have limited attention spans nowadays, especially online. But
yes. I think we're hearing lots of yeses. Let's go for it, Swamiji.
so let us just so again, because I've spoken about my book, in my book, that 2-3 minute meditations don't really qualify. So I'm just going to give you a glimpse. It's like that fancy ice cream parlor where if you're not sure which taste you want, they give you that tiny spoon and you can taste, for free. So I'll give you a small taste like this. But if you're in a place where you can sit comfortably for a moment, with the emphasis on comfortably. Yeah. So please feel free to sit on a chair, sofa, however you're comfortable. And you don't have to cross your legs. You can stretch them in front of you, or however you are comfortable. And then for a moment, let us close our eyes. You can keep your hands maybe on your knees or in your lap with the palms facing up. And then take a few normal, long, deep breaths in and out, allowing the breath to settle. And then for a moment, consciously relax your neck and your shoulders. Relax your face. If you wish, you can keep a gentle smile on your face. And then for the next few moments, keep your body totally still, like a stone or a statue, almost like the Buddha statue. Even if you feel like moving some part of the body, resist for some time. Just bear with it. You are totally still. And notice how, when the body is still, the mind also gradually starts to settle down. Once more, breathe in And breathe out. And notice how the incoming breath energizes the body and the outgoing breath relaxes the body. Become aware of this phenomenon that is happening all the time. And notice how with every exhalation, your body and mind relax more and more. Whatever thoughts may be coming up in the mind, do not resist. Whether good thoughts or bad thoughts, they come and go on their own. Right now, you don't have to do anything. There is nothing to do and nothing to know. Let go of all effort and relax in this moment. Once more, breathe in and slowly breathe out. Become aware of your body and the surroundings. And then very slowly, you may move your fingers a little. And then taking your own time, whenever you feel complete, slowly you may open your eyes again. How was it? Was good or just a, you can say, a shot of serenity? But do you notice the difference that even in that few minutes, how is your state of mind now? Do you
Mudit
notice
is
it?
saying very relaxing. Akansha, very nice. Pranam, excellent.
So this is just that tiny scoop, if you have the full serving, it's many fold more. But I tell you, it's such a, as I said in the book, nowadays I honestly feel that meditation is not a luxury, it's a necessity nowadays if you want to be really peaceful, happy, and successful in life.
Wow. Natasha says her 5 and 7-year-olds did it also.
They are naturals, no? But so nice, so nice.
So I know we're running out of time, but one question definitely I wanted to ask you, because that does come up in your book, and maybe to clarify also the difference between mindfulness and meditation.
Yes, so let me put it really like as concise as possible. Mindfulness is, in many ways, you can say, a preparation for meditation. It's a practice where we bring the scattered mind to the present, to the here and now, and then maintaining, training it to be really with what we are doing. So that way, yes, you can eat, you can walk, you can do so many things practicing mindfulness. So the mind that is so scattered, we bring it to one place. What in the tradition of yoga, to which of course the Buddha also belonged, he was a trained yogi, what we call dharana, where you focus the mind. But then dhyana, the meditation, is one step beyond it, where we drop that effort and then you go beyond. And this is where the main difference lies, because in mindfulness, you are still engaging the mind, the conscious mind. You are still doing something. So it's definitely an improvement. It has many benefits from our normal scattered state. But that deep rest that the mind gets when it turns inward, when it goes to the source, when you go beyond the conscious mind, when you transcend, is a whole different level. And that is a quality that you will not get from mindfulness. So of course, advanced practices of mindfulness also then they come to the point of meditation. But as a normal mindfulness practice, it will not get you there. And I gave one example in the book that covers it very beautifully from a conversation that happened where Vishen Lakiani, the founder of Mind Valley, some of you may have heard of him, he was interviewing my teacher, my master, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji. And he asked him, he said, no, in the West now, many meditation practices are becoming known as mindfulness. What is your take on that? And he just said one thing. He said, they're not the same. And he said, mindfulness is like, you drive your car home and park it in the garage. And meditation is when you come out of the car and you go into your living room, you go inside. No? So it's something that is beyond it. You cannot relax sitting in your car in the driveway or in the garage in the same way you can relax in your living room or your bedroom. If you could, then it's not your garage. So meditation is so much more, there's so much more to offer. And one of the ideas behind this book also, and why I touched upon this more in detail also in the book, I dedicated one chapter to it, is because I see that many people may be very sincerely looking to practice, but then it's a shame if they wouldn't reach into the living room. So just to give that clarity.
Swamiji, we have some questions. Can we extend your time for a little bit?
Yeah, if it's okay with you, we can take a few more minutes. I would like to do justice and honor that as well, if people have taken the trouble to ask.
Thank you. Niharika, go ahead.
Swamiji, it's my pleasure. I'm listening to you, and of course, I'm going to read your book too. My question is that you said that 7 to 6 hours sleep. If you're going to take 7 to 6 hours sleep, and if you're going to do 20 minutes meditation, then it's going to work in the same proportion. My question is that if we are students and why we sleep, we just sleep just to relax our body or mind. And in place of sleep, is meditation is going to work, then will it affect our body or something? Can we replace it with sleep?
So that is why I put that disclaimer that yes, 20 minutes of proper meditation is equal to 4 to 6 hours of sleep. When it comes to the rest, it gives your mind. So your body also will need a certain amount of rest. There are certain physiological processes that will only happen in that state of sleep. But yes, to add to that, when you practice meditation regularly, and it will take a little time to get to that point, where you're able to relax that deeply, but it's very doable for everyone. You will find that you need less sleep. So you may still need 5-6 hours, some people maybe 7 hours, while earlier it was 8 or 9 hours, because we are not doing hardcore labor. So physically that 6-7 hours is enough for the body. It's just that our mind needs more and deeper rest, and meditation can give you that. So from my personal experience, I had the good fortune to start practicing you can say, proper meditation at the age of 16. So even during my studies, it benefited me a lot, because I not just needed a little less sleep, but also when I study, I'm much more alert. My memory is better. My concentration is much better. So that same thing that used to take me 3 hours would get done in 1.5 or 2 hours. And even if sometimes, you have to pull an all-nighter or almost all-nighter, the quality of my mind was so much better than it was earlier when I had to do that. And there you cannot compare it with having a Red Bull so that you're all, dosed up on on stimulants and sugar, because that can keep you going physically, but mentally, it's not ideal. So you can't get rid of your sleep. You'll have to sleep at least for some hours. But yes, definitely you will find that a meditation practice will greatly enhance it. And then what happens, the quality of your sleep also improves. So you find that even with less hours, you get actually a deeper rest, because you're able to let go. Your mind is able to unwind much more.
Okay, thank you
Hope
so
this answers the question.
Yeah, sort of.
I know maybe you were hoping that you can just chuck sleep altogether. Let me meditate for 40 minutes and
Yeah, because I'm like kind of nocturnal, no? That's why I was asking.
kind of nocturnal. Okay, well, then you can sleep during the day. I mean, there are plenty of people who do that.
Yeah.
Next question we'll take from Smita. Smita, go ahead.
Thank you, Sukirti. Thank you, Swamiji. It's such a wonderful session. I didn't want it to end. I could so relate to the point when you said, when you meditate, the quality of your sleep becomes better and you become more efficient. I've been there, 20 years back when I was studying. I used to meditate and I did a course on meditation. And it really helped me at that time. But now, after such a long gap, when I'm trying to get back, like maybe 2 years back, I could just, put an alarm for 20 minutes and feel really refreshed after those 20 minutes. But off late in the last 1.5 years, that alarm, just when I'm going into that state, the alarm kicks off. So it's, breaking that thing. I'm maybe taking a longer time to relax. So what do you suggest? Because some of my friends suggested that you don't put any alarm, you just sit and just let it be. And automatically you will get up when your body is done with it. But I did try that, but it's not really working. So if you can suggest whether the 20-minute thing will work or just letting it be and just sitting.
So the thing is, like, an alarm may be a little jarring, like from my experience, anyway, I know that usually it will be maybe around sometimes 20, sometimes 25 minutes, sometimes maybe 15 also. So I'm not putting such a hard stop, because if you are in a much more relaxed state, then an alarm can be quite jarring. Suddenly it's like back to reality. So I prefer a more smooth transition. But of course, these last 1.5 years have been unusually stressful. Let's be honest. Even if you're not much affected yourself, you dealing with other people who are really affected will also affect you. So there. Of course, it may be more difficult to really relax, to let go. Mind is more active. And that is the reality. That is why I've touched upon some of these things in my book, like the dispassion aspect, because that is where you really need to apply some of these things, because otherwise it becomes so difficult to relax, even to sleep peacefully, what many people are experiencing. You can't just shake it off. If it was that easy, then you wouldn't be so affected. So, and on top of that, you will find that sometimes also we go through a period where it's a little easier, a little less easy. There are different rhythms in nature also, same with our body and mind. So that again may change, but but I've given a few pointers in my book. You can have a look at it. It may help.
Thank you. Thank you so
much. There's just one more question that we will take that has come in from Dr. Amulya. How to always be calm, and even when external factors are so trying to push you to the edge and you want to shout at everyone. Also, I want to ask, if you are calm, does that make you weak? Also put some light on the response and react.
The thing is, only someone who is really powerful can stay calm in any situation. If you really think about it. Because if you know that you have everything covered or that nothing can touch you, there is no reason to lose your calm. And the same is with when it comes to reacting, responding. See, when you react, that means, I mean, it depends on your definition of the words, of course, but the way I see it is when you react, it's immediate, And when you respond, that means it is something that is in your control. It's a reaction that is, that you have thought about, and we react when we lose our cool. When you are calm, that is when you can say, okay, let me assess the situation. What is the best way to go about it? Now, if you say, I want to be always calm, this always itself is very tricky, because all kinds of situations can come. But yes, the less we depend on any factors outside ourselves, the more you are in control of your calmness, your state of mind. Because let's face it, that is what shakes us. That if you're relying on something and it doesn't go the way you planned or hoped, or you think that is needed, that shakes you because it's not in your control. But one of the things it was my intention to share with people through the book also, is this understanding practically that the switch is inside. So that in the end, your peace, your happiness is not dependent on any person or situation outside yourself. And the more we start experiencing that, and here I can speak from some of my own experience, that I have worked in places where really there is hardly anything. In areas near the China border, Arunachal Pradesh, where I stayed with people in a hut, around a fire, eating boiled leaves and that local rice, jungli chawal and all. And there was no electricity there, no phone network. And some of my people were like, my goodness, why do you even go to such places? No, you don't have to. You had a nice job in Holland, and even in India, you can do so many things. But apart from, I was doing, setting up projects there, doing various things. We no need to go into that. But for me, it was a beautiful realization that even in such a place where physically you may not really be comfortable, I can be very happy, And that's the beauty. So like I said, it doesn't mean you cannot have any of the comforts or the things you enjoy. You can go for a holiday, have delicious food. Why not? But you don't depend on it for your happiness or your peace of mind. And that is true freedom. Where irrespective of the situation around you, you can be peaceful, you can be happy. Where you are free from the past, from the future. And some of these things have been put in a very concise and funny manner in this movie, Kung Fu Panda. I know we'll bring the circle round. You started with that, Sukirti. But it's true. And especially, I tell you, after reading this book, again, when you watch the movie, you'll say, oh, this was there in the movie also. But then it has to click, You have to be able to relate.
But that now you've given us a good thing. Now I need to go watch Kung Fu Panda because I've read the book.
Totally.
Now, Swamiji, any closing words that you have for us as we end the session for today?
I think, one thing which maybe, we have said many times, you can check out the book. Sukirti has shared the link also, so I won't have to say that again. But maybe just as a small service that we can all do in these times is that in whatever capacity you feel, it is very nice if we can share some of this knowledge with the people around us, because I'm seeing time and again that people are really struggling, especially right now. And there are so many people who are looking for a way to deal with life, which is like, and many of us are doing what we can, but I've seen so many people who have really benefited from some of these techniques, these practices. I'm not saying everybody has to go and buy my book, and of course they're welcome, but even apart from that, just making people aware that, there are these techniques, there is this knowledge available, how to deal with your mind, your emotions, your anxiety, because people are really struggling, and not everybody has access to these things. So then, they may just end up taking some antidepressant pills, but even that will take you only so far. And not everybody has people around them who can support them emotionally, mentally. So during these times, this is a wonderful service any of us can do. That even if it's okay, I may not be in a position to really help you, but there are these things. Why don't you try it out, check it out? As Sukirti was saying, anyway, we're all available on social media also. Feel free to reach out. But this is a beautiful service we can do, because even this time it will pass. It's not a permanent thing. But right now, this is what is really needed to help people stay afloat and help them find their center again.
So, Swamiji, thank you for your beautiful book. Thank you for this beautiful session. And I will just close with what Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar said, and I'm taking it from your book. A mind without agitation is meditation. A mind in the present moment is meditation. A mind which becomes no mind is meditation. A mind that has no hesitation, no anticipation is meditation. A mind that has come back home to the source is meditation. With that, I wish you all a good night.